Testing, testing, testing. JB here. Hope everybody's doing outstanding. January 17th, 2023. Just going to get on really quick. Not much to talk about. Holiday shortened trading week. We have earnings. Netflix reports earnings on Thursday. Then things really start to heat up next week. We had CPI data last Thursday. And then the next big market catalyst outside of earnings will be the PCE data. I believe that comes out on January 29th, which is I think that's a Thursday, right? Wait, today's a Tuesday, 18, 9, 20, maybe it's January 26th. And then the Fed will meet and their statement will come out on February 1st with a press conference by Powell, 0.25 hike maybe. I guess, we'll have to see how this all plays out. But I think we're kind of in the phase of they think maybe inflation's at the tipping point, or it's already tipped, and we can start, they can start ratcheting back on rate hikes. But some of the names I'm looking at, and earnings can have some binary events, so certainly some names I'll be looking at, or at least start to look at into earnings, especially names that have been beaten down. A lot of names have been beaten down, but Netflix definitely gonna be interesting. GNRC is hitting highs here. Anyway, so my Axum Therapeutics, they'll report earnings, and it's not even about their earnings. It's around their rollout of their major depressive disorder drug. So if there's any kind of positive upside or positive news on that stock's going to go higher. But first, I'll talk about Roblox and Square. So Roblox had every month they issue their user data, and I think they're going to stop doing that into March, which no surprise. You don't really want the market to just whipsaw based on monthly data, right? You want to have a general view. But despite a decline in revenue, their usage and users can continue to grow. And I mentioned it last week. I don't know if it was on a rant or maybe I tweeted or put it on a watch list. But the future of, I wouldn't say the internet, but the future of things involves Web 3.0, the metaverse, and Roblox is front and center. If you have any children, kids, things like that, you know the impact this company has, and what people are doing. So similar to that is you, and it's another reason why I continue to add strikes on Unity, because another name that's just front and center in what's going on, the change of culture and habits, and especially in the younger generation. When I was a kid, you went outside, you played baseball, you rode your bike without a helmet on, you went to the playground, you did all those kinds of things. Now, the kids make videos. They're on Roblox making, interacting and things like that. So we'll see how this all plays out. Roblox, the unfortunate thing with Roblox, there's a huge negative sentiment, and I made the analogy. I don't know if I posted on StockTwits, is Roblox right now is kind of like what Bitcoin was 5 or even 10 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. When you mentioned Bitcoin, there was this, I guess, imagery that's created that everybody thought Bitcoin was money laundering, people who drug dealers, corruption, the mafia, all these, whatever you want to call it. That was what they wanted you to, well, not what they wanted, but those are the headlines when you heard about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And I'm not saying the same thing here with Roblox, but it's a lot of under 18 folks playing or utilizing their platform, and there's a lot of headlines around people trying to exploit that. So it's makes me a little, even just talking about it makes me a little uneasy. But they're going to have to figure that out and really lock the that side of it down, the security, and for parents to be able to encourage their children to use it, as opposed to be concerned that who's going to try and exploit them or interact with them that have shady things that they're trying to do. So we'll see how that all plays out. But for now, I was looking at my February. I already locked out my January strikes. I didn't want to risk it. They were expiring this Friday. But the February strikes, Roblox didn't open, or at least the options didn't open for a couple minutes after the bell. I was looking like I could have got out at 70, 65. So I'm gonna hold on to them for now. I think it's headed over 40. Same with Unity, 32.91 in the pre-market, sold off after the bell, down under 31, bouncing back here near 32. I think it heads over $40. So that's kind of my thought process. I'm not saying they're going to trade in sympathy with each other, but I think they're both great names on a play of the switch in culture, right? The switch in the way people interact, and people aren't going to, kids aren't going to playgrounds as much. They're not on the street. You're not driving your car down the street and having to stop because kids are playing basketball on the street or stickball or wiffle ball. No, they're on their phones making videos and playing Roblox and anything from the App Store, which a lot of that stuff's created by Unity. Anyway, so that's my rant there. I already talked about Axum, Sage. I almost have my biotech webinar finished. I'm hoping to have it out maybe Wednesday or Thursday. A lot of names. I've talked about the negative enterprise value names in biotech. There's so many out there that trade less than cash. That is switching. There's a lot of names that have reversed course. I mean, take a look at Zyme for an example. I talk about Biogen and Sage. Biogen and Sage had a deal. Biogen, Sage actually did. I guess they did an offering, and Biogen bought those shares at over, I think it was $105 per share, and then they acquired a stake, and then they also gave Sage, I don't know, $500 million for a partnership on their I forget the name of the drug, but they also have milestone payments. So if Sage is able to hit some milestones, Biogen's on the hook for like $1.2 billion. And the thing is, Sage has I think it's $1.3 billion in cash. I think it's $3 billion. Let me see if I can pull up the exact numbers right now. I think they're let's see where it is now, because I don't have to get, $2.7 billion company. So they trade, half of the valuation is in cash, and then they have this deal with Biogen, and Biogen, you would think, would just acquire the company, just instead of being concerned about having to make a $1 billion milestone payment, just acquire the rest of the shares. I have to find out how much the exact stake is that they own, but just acquire the rest of it. So that's kind of the bull case on Sage, why I continue to look at that name for upside. I think at some point we're going to wake up and there'll be some news, and Biogen's just going to they'll just buy them out. It makes sense. A lot of these biotech names that have a lot of cash have made acquisitions that these early stage biotech firms that they acquire, their drug doesn't pan out or bad data or whatever. It's part of the business. And I think, if you're a company that wants to do well, you have to be aggressive. So we'll see how that plays out. So that's Biogen. Still love Square here in this back. Is it still over 74? 70? Yeah, 74.59. Hit 74.86 just a little while ago. I think this one trades back into the 80s and 90s. Talk about the disruption in transactions. People are, the longer the 5-10 years from now, people are going to look at a U.S. dollar. It's going to look like a foreign currency. People can my kids are going to be like, what is that? So, I mean, who knows? I mean, there'll still be a purpose for it. There's going to be some type of currency. But the thing with Square is the cryptocurrency space went on a tear the last couple of days. So some of the reasons Square has been down is I think it's 15 or 20% of revenue is attributed to their to the crypto side. You see it doing well now. I think it trades into the 90s. And their earnings are going to be in the first week of February. I'll continue to hold my calls for premium build. I think that's it. I'm trying to think of some other things. Now, Netflix has I think it's a 10%. Let's see. I could pull it up right now. Yep. Netflix, 10% implied move right now. Typically, Netflix reports on a Tuesday, but I guess the holiday threw things off. I mean, the stock is up quite a bit. you take a look back in October, it was in the lower 210, 215 range. Right in December, 275, and now here it is in the 330s. Is it going to go 360? Is it going to drop under 300? I think they're going to report decent earnings, and maybe the stock it kills premium, stays flat. Just doesn't seem like a decent risk reward for me, because I don't know if they surprise to the downside in regards to their guidance, and subscriber guidance is another decline in sub ads. If that happens, does the stock trade? Maybe it trades to 290. I think there's a lot of negative sentiment on the name still. And then on the flip side, if they beat on subscriber ads, I think there's still a lot of bearish people on the name. Does it trade up to 360 or so, and then people sell it off? So I don't know if the risk reward is there. And I always look at Roku as a sympathy play. It's been on a decent run as well. I was trying to play some 50 calls a couple weeks ago. Here it is, over $50. If there's an upside beat, if there's an upside guidance and beat from Netflix, this is probably Roku, probably a great sympathy play. $55, $60, if not higher. So that's kind of what I'll be looking at. And I think that's it. Yeah, who else? So you have, not a lot. Alcoa. Alcoa used to be the official start of earnings season was when Alcoa reported. 2008, everything got destroyed. Alcoa went from being one of the, a huge market cap to being irrelevant, and finally back to relevancy somehow based on all the things that have gone in the commodity space. So we'll have to see. The banks have all, pretty much all reported. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs this morning. Goldman Sachs getting destroyed. Morgan Stanley doing the exact opposite. Kind of mostly in line. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. And I'm not going to sit here and say there's not more downside possible, but I think we're kind of at a point, and pending any crazy black swan or some unforeseen news, I think we melt into the low 400s on the SPY. That's my thought. Then we get the Fed's statement comes out. They raise rates 0.25. Maybe that gets some mixed signals. People maybe still want them to be aggressive, but I think the market rallies. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. But that's it, folks. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I'll try and get back on audio. Rock and roll.